Ironically, Candace Parker is in a little bit of a hot seat right now.
Yeah, she probably shouldn't go to Chicago.
Candace Parker just broke an unspoken rule, and the reaction says everything about the WNBA's current power struggle. When you praise Caitlin Clark without immediately adding equal applause for everyone else, you get labeled the problem. Tonight, we unpack why one of the league's greatest legends chose to stand her ground anyway, what she actually said, and why the old narratives are shaking. If you care about facts over noise, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. You will not want to miss what unfolds next. Candace Parker did something simple that turned controversial fast. She praised Caitlin Clark clearly, without the usual disclaimers, and then called out a talking point used to minimize Clark's impact. Suddenly, a normal segment became a purity test. Clips spread, timelines filled with reactions, and a basic basketball point was recast as a challenge to the old guard's authority. That tells you what this moment is really about. It is less a dispute over one player and more a fight over who gets to define the story. Candace refused to pad her analysis with performative balance. She spoke like a competitor who values results over optics. That choice forced everyone to pick a lane. Are we grading production or protecting narratives? She chose production, and the temperature rose immediately. But that wasn't the whole story, because once you talk standards, you eventually have to talk numbers. When ratings chatter started, some comparisons skipped the most obvious year and reached further back, a tidy way to mute the Clark effect. Viewers noticed. Candace's point was not that others do not matter. It was that impact should be measured honestly. People buy tickets and tune in for matchups that feel like events, and certain players turn regular nights into a...
I just think that when you bring opinions to the table, you got to have something to back it up. So you can't just say stuff.
Sadly, Candace, you're finding out the hard way.
It's fine to just say, just post the ratings. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. But like, it is another situation than pretending like Caitlin Clark doesn't exist.
Events. That's visible in attendance, national windows, and the way casual fans talk about the league. Candace called for straight accounting, not selective frames, not clever omissions. The discomfort comes from what clean comparisons reveal. When attention surges around a particular playmaker, pretending otherwise does not protect anyone. It only confuses the audience. And if numbers make some folks uneasy, wait until direct comparisons arrive, because that's where the reaction went from uneasy to volcanic. Tier conversations always light a fuse. Candace placed Clark at an A-level, trending higher with time, and she put Angel Reese at a lower tier today, while still crediting growth and role value. That is standard analysis in every other sport. Here, it detonated a pile of online grievances. Instead of debating assignments, usage, or shot creation, critics jumped to motives and tone. Candace spoke.
That being said, the facts that I want to bring to this table, and I challenge anybody to tell me, what player are you taking Angel Reese over of those that I just listed?
Guess we'll wait for their response.
Oh, we're not going to. Okay.
Because,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
But what I'm saying is, in what player, and this is no disrespect, these are the greatest players in the game right now. They asked me to rank the tier right now. And I sit in a studio at Turner with Shaq and Chuck, and some of which I think at times they do individually and personally attack people's character. And I think I pride myself on trying to be an analyst that does not do that. I do not attack character. I literally am just, from my point of view, from my opinion, this was the ranking. And so I ask again, are you taking Angel above Paige? Are you taking Angel above Arike? Are you taking Angel above Sabrina or Kelsey or Caitlin or Asia or Nafisa or Brianna? No, that does not make her a bad player. That does not make me a hater. Do I think she could be up there? Yes.
Like someone who has been option one on a scouting report. Carrying an offense is a different job than excelling in a narrower role. One demands you create advantages on command. The other rewards you for exploiting advantages someone else creates. Both matter, but they're not equal. By saying that out loud, she broke the script that requires ceremonial parody. The price was outrage. The payoff was clarity. And clarity, once stated, has a way of sticking. which led directly to the next claim circulating on air. Indiana's winning stretch without Clark sparked a tidy narrative.
So you can't just say stuff. In this day and age, we have a lot of people that are just saying stuff. And with that being said, I don't want to be a part of that.
Freakish floor vision. I know she had that 10 turnover game.
Yeah.
But that's something.
That's like a learning. I think all of us
Exactly.
young turn the ball over.
She'll get better.
And especially when you're the focal point of the entire defense, you know, you're going to have more turnovers. You're going to have more live ball situations. And the competitive element of you do tend to take chances early on. And you learn that sometimes it might be a highlight, but 7 out of 10 times it's probably going to be a turnover. And I had to learn that because I was, you know, some of the biggest things with Pat was like offensive rebounding and me turning the ball over. So those are the two things. I get it.
Fever are freer and more unpredictable without a ball-dominant guard. It sounds sharp until you scan the outcomes and film. With Clark, the team gains passing windows that do not exist for others, early clock advantages, and gravity that drags help defenders off shooters. Without her, a few players expand, but the collective ceiling often flattens. Candace took the adult view. She applauded teammates for stepping up and noted that adversity can strengthen spacing and confidence. Then she pointed to the part headline hunters miss. Time off lets a floor general watch, recalibrate, and return with...
We have to deal with the possibility that the Indiana Fever right now, in this moment, are better without Caitlin Clark. And that sounds crazy, and people are saying, how can you say that? I'm saying it because we're seeing it.
See, he always trying to push the CC narrative. She good, but she not that good.
Sharper reads. When a creator re-enters a lineup that discovered new weapons, the offense scales. That is how contenders are built in real time. Not by subtracting your best organizer, but by adding her back to a group that now believes. The next question is what kind of leadership helps that belief harden into habits. Candace did not just defend Clark. She placed her rise inside a larger tradition, where legends welcome the next wave instead of resenting it. That framing rejects the false choice between honoring the past and celebrating the present. The best teams in leagues do both. Veterans ease pressure,
Fantastic at her role, which is offensive rebounding. She showed and demonstrated so much growth in that first year. Then you got Angel Reese. I put her right at that C level. I think in terms of being above, you have to be able to have the ability to carry a team, be a 1 or 2 option. I think Angel Reese is...
Yeah, she probably shouldn't go to Chicago. You probably shouldn't send her back to Chicago. But go ahead, Jordan.
Translate locker room standards and normalize learning in public. She also demystified turnovers. When you are the focal point, risk is part of growth. The calculus is whether your creative wins outnumber your mistakes over time. That context is not coddling. It is reality from someone. Always lived the coverages. What rattled the noise machine was precisely that steadiness. Hot takes burn bright. Standards endure. And standards make people ask tougher questions about the product on marquee stages. There was a clear visual message during All-Star Weekend, with shirts demanding respect and fair pay. Many fans were ready to co-sign the statement. Then the game underdelivered. Pace dipped, urgency faded, and the stage never felt urgent enough to match the message. Candace said what advertisers, sponsors, and longtime viewers already know. Showcase games are trailers for the sport. If the trailer drags, the box office suffers. Calling for a better performance is not disrespect. It's the quickest way to make the message land. Big platforms amplify everything, good or bad. Pair an assertive statement with a high...
Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away. But when you look at Indiana now, they've got...
octane game, and the conversation shifts from slogans to highlights everyone shares. That was the missed opportunity. Owning that does not erase the cause. It sharpens it. And it flows into the next distinction Candace drew between brand heat and on-court gravity. Angel Reese has real brand power. She connects with casuals and keeps her name in the cycle. That is valuable. On-court gravity is a separate currency. It forces second defenders to stunt, drags help out of position, and creates open looks that only exist because one player warped the spacing. Candace separated these ideas cleanly. You can celebrate a brand and still admit who bends a defense. The pushback mostly skipped film. It went straight to feelings and loyalty tests. That is how you know.
Like, I just think that it would have really maximized the moment of wearing the shirt along with giving the product. Because I tried to watch the All-Star game, I'll be honest. But after one slow Euro step and people pulling up for them, I was like, I can't, I'm a fan of the WNBA and I can't watch this. So I just think that, no, you all didn't have to, but I think it was an opportunity that you could have built on, like, more momentum, if that makes sense.
This year, she played assistant coach and bench cheerleader throughout the game. And I'm here to tell you, if she hadn't been actively participating in her street clothes role as the bench coach and cheerleader, I'll swear those ratings would have been down another 10%.
The basketball case was strong. If the question is winning a playoff series this season, you argue possessions, not personalities. Candace stayed on possessions. She asked, right now, which top guards are you taking Reese over if the goal is winning 4 or 7? That question freezes the room because it forces specificity. And specificity exposes the next truth. The one defenses quietly tell every night. Defenses do not care about hashtags. They care about the first action and where the second defender must go. Watch who draws traps 30 feet out. Watch how often a weak side corner defender cheats a step because one passer can laser the skip. That's how you see value beyond the box score. Early in a creator's career, turnovers spike because windows are tight and reads are ambitious. The bet is that processing speed catches up to ambition, and then the risk pays.
She was more complimentary of Caitlin.
This is where it gets tricky. Caitlin Clark is at an A level. I think in time she's gonna raise up to that S, but in order to put her at that level, she's gotta have a couple more years, so.
Compound interest. Candace laid out that pathway without drama. Creative guards who learn tempo and timing turn into problem solvers. They weaponize teammates who looked ordinary under a different context. That's when a system stops being fragile and starts being dangerous, which is why a single return game can feel like a reframe of the whole season. When Clark returned and delivered a high-control performance, it reset the conversation. It was not only about points, it was about orchestration. Entries arrived a beat early. Shooters caught the ball in rhythm instead of reaching. Bigs got pocket passes that removed the help. The whole thing looked cleaner because the organizer was back, and the players who grew in her absence kept their edge. That is the recipe for must-watch basketball. A creator who lowers everyone's difficulty at role players who now attack with conviction. Those nights turn casuals into regulars. They also shrink the oxygen for the better without her take. The louder the film gets, the
So crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now. My job was to leave the game playing. No, she's being the mentor that she is, and she's supporting and loving and sitting courtside cheering on Juju Watkins. And I'm doing the same for Caitlin Clark and all the women in the WNBA. I'm better than I came into it. You think Cheryl Miller is resentful for me that I had a league to...
Quieter the gimmicks sound. Which brings us back to why Candace's stance matters beyond one box score. Candace took heat for refusing to varnish. That is the price of leadership. You speak plainly, even when it would be easier to ride the algorithm with safe platitudes. The dividend shows up later. It shows up when young stars keep taking tough shots because veterans frame mistakes as tuition, not scandal. It shows up when sponsors see appointment viewing, not background noise. Leaders hold two truths at once. Celebrate the player who is reshaping attention and revenue. Demand a product that deserves the platform. That balance is inconvenient for outraged merchants because it's hard to dunk on, but it's exactly what a growing league needs. Which is why this argument is not small at all.
But here's the problem. The second you say that out loud without adding, and by the way, everyone else is just as important, in this climate, if you compliment Caitlin Clark,
it honestly is scary because not only are you allowing other people to step up, but you're allowing Caitlin to then survey and realize how she can add.
It's common sense.
Points to the standard that scales. The fairest standard is simple. Reward what wins. Reward what draws. Reward what travels. If a player moves national windows and sells out buildings, say it plainly. If a team plays crisp, competitive basketball, showcase it relentlessly. If a veteran speaks truth without attacking character, back her up. That is how you build a bigger tent without watering anything down. This standard invites rivalry instead of resentment. Rookies get permission to learn fast. Veterans keep the bar high without gatekeeping. Media stop gaming narratives and start covering competition. Fans feel respected instead of managed. Candace spoke in that language. So did teammates who rose and expanded roles. So did viewers who kept showing up through the drama. Keep aligning around the product and momentum compounds. Drift back to narrative games and it leaks. That is why the final perspective matters. This is not about a single tier list or a spicy segment. It's about whether the WNBA converts a surge of curiosity into a durable era. That requires clarity about what moves needles and humility about what does not. It requires stages that feel big and performances that justify the spotlight. It requires veterans naming standards and young stars chasing them without fear. Candace modeled that alignment in a few blunt minutes. She did not diminish anyone. She separated roles, recognized outsized impact, and asked the sport to match its moment. That posture can feel sharp in the short term, but it pays long term. Let excellence breathe. Name it, market it, then let everyone else rise to meet it. That is how a league stops arguing over attention and starts compounding it. And if you want to track that rise in real time, here's how to stay with us. Candace Parker stood up for a standard that wins. Praise excellence. Demand a product that justifies the platform. Help the next wave carry the league further than the last. That clarity sparked backlash, but it also reset the conversation. If you value that kind of honesty and you want more deep dives without the fluff, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications right now. Drop a trophy in the comments for Candace and tell me where you think this season's turning point really began. Thanks for watching.